Hey everyone, it's Dennis Gray and it's show number 83 of the Australian Rock Show. Today, Australia woke up to the news that one of its greatest rock and roll sons has left us. Malcolm Young, a rock and roll hero to so many of us, passed away yesterday on the 18th of November. Mal had been ill for some time, and although his passing is not unexpected, it still is very sad. It's actually quite hard to express via a podcast the impact which Malcolm Young and AC/DC has had on the lives of so many of us. It really is. Anyway, folks, sit back for a bit, crack open a beer and hit the volume as we remember the great Malcolm Young, the greatest. Rest assured, we will be looking over Malcolm's life and musical career in great detail on a future episode. Yet today, as so many others around the planet are doing, we're just going to spin some tunes and remember some of the great rock and roll Mal leaves behind. Once again, for Malcolm Young, the greatest. From TNT, released back in '75, that is of course Livewire. And if pushed, I reckon that could be my favourite ever AC/DC track. Well, top 5 anyway. You know, in Mark Evans' book, Dirty Deeds, he talks about opening the set with Livewire at AC/DC's first gig in London back in '76 at a small venue called the Red Cow. The way his bass intro is joined by Mal's guitar chords, and then when Phil and Angus erupt with their parts, he felt like he was lifted off the ground. And every time I hear that song, I feel the same way. It's just a massive sounding track, a monster. On this show, we are remembering Malcolm Young, co-founder of AC/DC and one of my long-time rock and roll heroes. Before we play another song, I'll read the press statement issued by both AC/DC and Angus. Today, it is with deep, heartfelt sadness that AC/DC has to announce the passing of Malcolm Young. Malcolm, along with Angus, was the founder and creator of AC/DC. With enormous dedication and commitment, he was the driving force behind the band. He always stuck to his guns and did and said exactly what he wanted. He took great pride in all that he endeavoured. His loyalty to the fans was unsurpassed. As his brother, it is hard to express in words what he has meant to me during my life. The bond we had was unique and very special. He leaves behind an enormous legacy that will live on forever. Malcolm, job well done. From Let There Be Rock, that is of course Overdose. What about the riffage in that? Does not get any better, and it will indeed live on forever. David Albert, the CEO of Albert's, also issued a statement which reads, "It is with great sadness that Albert's acknowledged the passing of Malcolm Young. Regularly credited as one of the best rhythm guitarists in the world, Malcolm lived a life dedicated to his family and to his music. From the earliest days of AC/DC, Malcolm displayed the traits that would come to define him and shape the band's success. Uncompromising determination, a sharp business mind, an uncanny gift for songwriting, and his musicianship. AC/DC would go on to become one of the world's greatest rock bands, selling more than 200 million albums. The band was inducted into the American Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2003. That same year, Malcolm and Angus accepted the Ted Albert Award for Outstanding Services to Australian music, one of the most respected accolades in the business. Malcolm's relationship and friendship with Ted Albert, the founder of Albert Productions, was a truly unique one, based on a mutual level of trust and respect and a shared interest and passion for music." Nice comments there from the folks at Albert's. All right, folks, why don't we hear a little bit of Squealer. Squealer there, lifted from album number 3, Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. Love, love, love that. Like a lot of fans, the AC/DC time period of 74 to 77 holds fond memories, especially if you were born and raised in Australia. If you live outside of Australia, you may not be aware that during the band's earliest days, they toured through every country town in this big land, playing high schools and town halls, often 2 or 3 gigs a day, endless hours of driving to play those shows. And in a weird twist of fate, I was walking along Goulburn Street in Sydney only yesterday and stopped outside the former home of Checkers, where it all began for Malcolm and AC/DC on December the 31st, 1973, their debut gig. Malcolm was born on the 6th of January in 1953 in Scotland, his early years living in a housing estate in Glasgow. Malcolm was 10 in 1963 when the Young family emigrated to Australia. The Youngs settled in the Sydney suburb of Burwood and Mal attended Ashfield Boys High School. Before AC/DC, Malcolm joined local outfit The Velvet Underground as second guitarist, the other guitarist being Les Hall. In his book, It's a Roadie's Job, Velvet Underground and TMG roadie Ron Clayton states, "I believe the world should congratulate Les Hall for his contribution to what became the sound of a generation." On his first rehearsal as the new member in Velvet Underground, Malcolm Young only had a little amplifier and a Gretsch guitar. But when he plugged into the 100-watt Marshall owned by Les, it opened up a brand new world of sound. The next week, he went with Les and purchased a Marshall, and so a love affair with the Gretsch and Marshall amplifier commenced, which never ended. From Highway to Hell, that is of course AC/DC with Touch Too Much. Today we are remembering one of the greats of rock and roll, Malcolm Young, who passed away yesterday at 64 years of age. His impact on rock and roll is immeasurable, and if anyone has ever needed any indication of Mal's influence on other musicians, they just have to read through social media, which today is packed with comments from musicians all over the world. Here are a couple from Eddie Van Halen. "It is a sad day in rock and roll. Malcolm Young was my friend and the heart and soul of AC/DC. I had some of the best times of my life with him on our 1984 European tour. He will be missed, and my deepest condolences to his family, bandmates and friends." From Barnsey, "You are the greatest rhythm guitar player ever. Love and condolences to Angus. What a sad day for music." Folks, I think we're going to close out this show now. Thanks for listening in. Contact us at australianrockshow@gmail.com. Our homepage is at australianrockshow.com. All the past episodes are there for you to check out and download. And I think I'm going to close this show out with words from the great Dan Baird via his Facebook page, which is exactly what many of us are also feeling today. "The most disciplined right hand in rock and roll has gone. The engine room's retired captain has gone. One of my heroes has gone. Good night and Godspeed, Malcolm Young."